Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Lisa, and I am delighted to be your worship associate this morning. I'd like to take a moment to welcome Fred and Bonnie Cappuccino, who are both with us this morning. It's great to see you here for the service. It's been a little while. Today we have a guest speaker, Jane Lindsay, and she will be reflecting on kindness. Jane will explore how some situations, like a serious accident, can elicit many acts of much appreciated kindness. But less obvious, everyday situations also offer us opportunities, some easily overlooked, for small acts of kindness that can make more difference than we can ever imagine. So whether you're taking part in this worship celebration from here in Worship Hall or from your home, wherever you may be, wherever you may log on, you are welcome here this morning. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all those that have the willingness to understand, to be of service to those at risk, and to advocate for justice. I'll now invite Jane to come forward with some opening words.
Good morning. In just a moment, we're going to begin as we always do by lighting our coveted chalice. And so I'd like to call up a very special chalice lighter today. Could I please call up Eleanor the unicorn? Great, and if you can just wait here, I'm going to read some things first, and then you're going to be needed, okay? So these are opening words adapted from a poem called "In the Face of War, I'm So Small, Yet Love is Big." The poem is by John Riddell. I can't make the world be peaceful. I can't stall tanks from roaring down roads. I can't prevent children from having to hide in bunkers. I can't convince the news to stop turning war into a video game. I can't silence the sound of bombs tearing neighborhoods apart. I can't turn a guided missile into a bouquet of flowers. I can't make a warmonger have an ounce of empathy. I can't convince ambassadors to quit playing truth or dare. I can't deflect a sniper's bullet from turning a wife into a widow. I can't stave off a country being reduced to ash and rubble. I can't do any of that. The only thing I can do is love the next person I encounter without any conditions or strings. To love my neighbor so fearlessly that it starts a ripple that stretches from one horizon to the next. I can't force peace on the world, but I can become a force of peace in the world. Because sometimes all it takes is a single lit candle in the darkness to start a movement. God, or Spirit if you prefer, make me a candle of comfort in this world. Let me burn with peace. And now, Eleanor, all right, do you want to do that? All right. Grandma knows best. Great. And our chalice is lit. Thank you very much, Eleanor. Let us now worship together. Please stand as you're willing and are able to sing our opening hymn. Jen?
And now Jody is going to share a story with us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jody McIntosh, and I'm the Director of Religious Exploration. And I have a story this morning called Be Kind by Pat Zietlow Miller, illustrated by Jen Hill. Tanisha spilled her grape juice yesterday. Everyone laughed. I almost did too, but Mom always told me to be kind, so I tried. I don't think it worked. I said, purple is my favorite color. I thought Tanisha would smile, but she ran into the hall instead. When she came back, snack time was over. She put on her art smock and didn't look at anyone. I almost told Tanisha that art was my favorite class, but I didn't want her to leave again. So I painted purple splotches and added some green until I had a bunch of beautiful violets. While I painted, I thought about Tanisha. Should I have handed her my napkin? Let her borrow my sweatshirt? Spilled my juice so everyone stared at me instead? What does it mean to be kind anyway? Maybe it's giving. Making cookies for Mr. Rinaldi, who lives alone? Letting someone with smaller feet have my too tight shoes? He might win races in them too. Maybe it's helping, putting dirty dishes in the sink, cleaning up after Otis, our class guinea pig. Maybe it's paying attention, telling Desmond I like his blue boots, asking the new girl to be my partner, listening to Aunt Franny's stories, even though I've heard them all before. Being kind should be easy, like throwing away a wrapper or recycling a bottle, or saying, thank you, bless you. My mom says the quickest way to be kind is to use someone's name. Hey, Carla, what's new, Omar? Good afternoon, Rabbi Lemonbaum. Being kind can be hard, too, even when you know what to do. Teaching someone something I'm good at is tricky, even when I'm patient. And sticking up for someone when other kids aren't kind, it's really hard and really scary. Maybe I can't solve Tanisha's grape juice problem. Maybe all I can do is sit by her in art class and paint this picture for her because I know she likes purple too. Maybe I can only do small things, but my small things might join small things other people do too. And together, they could grow into something big. Something really big, so big that all our kindness spills out of our school and spreads through the town. Like everyone learning to be kind and donating things and helping each other. Maybe these kind things will travel across the country and go all the way around the world. Little random acts of kindness traveling around the world. Right back to Tanisha and me so we can be kind again and again and again. Then you see Tanisha putting the little painting on her wall. So if you were here last week, you saw that we started a new tradition when we sing the children out. So I'm going to ask all the folks on this aisle and this aisle to put your hands out to kind of create an arch. And that arch will be one that the children can walk through. And if you are not on these aisles and you want to join our arch, feel free to put your arm out as well. All right? Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Amy, or I should say Jody, you're Amy, for that lovely story. And now here is Amy from our board with announcements for today. Amy?
Hi, good morning. So there's a couple of board-specific announcements. The first one is that we have a busy week coming up. So today, after service at 12:15, here, there's a town hall about the sustainable housing that will be going up. And for all of those who are interested, at 11:45, so probably a few minutes after the service ends, there will be a walk around to see where the pylons are in the parking lot to mark unexpected corners of the new buildings. Or sorry, not unexpected, expected corners. So like where the, I guess, where the layout for each of the buildings is going to be. So if you want to brave the wet weather and go and see that, that sounds like it could be quite interesting. And the town hall today is only in person, as far as I know. The next, it is also online. Okay, sorry, yes. So it is online as well. It just doesn't say that specifically in here. So it is online. So if you'd like to watch it at your leisure at home as well, it's online as well. Next Sunday, also at 12:15, we're having our fall congregational meeting. That's sort of like the like the half-year point of the AGM, so that we can vote certain things through in the board and stuff like that, like with the congregation. So that will also be here at 12:15 and available online over Zoom. And one of the things that happens at that meeting is that we approve the projected budget for next year. So the treasurer will be doing presentations if you have, so the information should have already gone out to you. The treasurer will be doing a presentation of the 2024 budget at the meeting and then have the opportunity to ask more specific questions at two meetings that are both happening this week. One is this Tuesday, October 24th at 10 a.m. and the other one is at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, October 25th. If you want information about any of those meetings, it's in the UUU. Clear as mud, right? Yes? Okay, so if you want more information, I'm sure all of that is in the UUU as well. On the 1st of November, so a week from Wednesday, the FirstU and Or Haneshama, they're the Reconstructionist Jewish congregation that meets here and has space in the basement as well. They're doing a presentation of the film called Passage to Freedom. It's, again, November 1st at 7 p.m. And it's a powerful, not to be missed documentary about a film that captures the stories of those who have embarked on perilous voyages from Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos to make their way to Canada. And if you want more information, you can see Eva for more details. And my third announcement has to do with the Fall Fair. So the Fall Fair will be on November 18th. That's less than a month away. So please see more information on the FirstU website about donations that you can make to the congregation, the criteria. There'll be posters on there for printing if you want to spread the word doing that. And for those attending in person today, you can also pick up flyers or posters at the back of Worship Hall. Maury's holding them right there to distribute or display. And if you'd like to help us out on the day, because we need lots of hands to make sure it happens, please volunteer. You can contact Fall Fair at firstunitarianottawa.ca, or Eva and Carol will be circulating with clipboards right there, in Fellowship Hall after the service. Thank you. And Donna Bowen-Willer has information from the Environmental Action Group now.
Thanks, Amy. So while you're waiting for the meeting, you can take some time and add to our 3 poster boards at the back. This is sort of a finish up for our time as the congregational focus, and we're asking 2 important things you've learned about climate change over the last 4 years. Seems like quite a long time, and lots has happened. 2 new climate actions you've taken over this time. And then what things are you still planning to do? And you'll see the boards at the back. There are little post-it notes that you can stick up. So join us, and we're going to display that for people to see all the different actions people have taken or are going to take and so on at the concert on the 5th of November. Concert? Ads down here. Please plan to come that afternoon. It's going to be a really wonderful celebration. And you can settle in, come at 2 and take a look at the various groups who are coming to demonstrate their wares. And then at 3 to join the Isle of Vocal Ensemble and their presentation of The Earth is Tired. There's lots more information on the Climate Action page. Also on the Climate Action page, look at our October's environmental action and read about why we must focus our provincial government and municipalities on changing our buses from yellow and diesel to green and clean. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Donna. So the next introduction I have to do is for Carmen Contreras. She's going to do a testimonial today, and she's been participating in FirstU since 2018 and became a member in 2021. She is active in various working groups and sings in the Chalice Choir. She recently also joined the board as a member at large. She shows her appreciation and supports for this community through her regular monthly monetary pledges. Please welcome Carmen.
Thank you, Amy. Can you hear me well? Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. And in order to tell the story of how I got to embrace Unitarian Universalism, I have to go back to my earlier life in Chile. There is so much I would like to say about it, but for the sake of brevity, let me just say that I grew up within the bosom of a loving, open-minded family where many matters were talked about at the dinner table. Yet religion or spirituality were seldom part of our conversation. Fast forward a few decades to the mid-1990s. That's when I had my first encounter with the United Church of Canada in a somewhat anecdotal way. Friends had asked me if I would be godmother to their newborn second child. I was utterly surprised to be asked, me, a non-believer, new to the whole Christian theology? Nevertheless, they were very good friends, and our 5-year-old daughters played together, so I said yes, and I became involved in church life. Fast forward another couple of decades. By then, I had had time to become familiar with some aspects of the theology. I was singing in the choir, and I was member of the Social Action Committee at Emmanuel United Church. Around 2017, a realization became increasingly clear for me. In spite of my deep appreciation for the community I was part of, I felt very tangled in the theology. I knew then my spiritual search had to continue. Those days I was also in the process of moving from the Sandy Hill neighborhood to the Britannia area. I would be close to the First Unitarian congregation with which I was already somewhat familiar. I remember, excuse me, I remember being in awe of the green banners hanging from the walls in Worship Hall. The encouragement to draw wisdom from many sources is, to me, an essential component of my spiritual life in community. As well, being a non-denominational congregation makes all the sense in the world because it implies an openness of thought and spirit. Important as well was to see the trees behind the sanctuary. What a great reminder of our interconnectedness with the great web of life. I felt very much at home, and in 2021 I became a member. These past few years, I've been actively involved in the Truth and Reconciliation Action Group, Mindfulness Meditation, Women's Personal Growth Group, Chalice Choir, Connections Team, and I am currently a member at large of the board. I am also an adherent to the Environmental Action Group, as well as a volunteer at Coffee Hour and Fall Fair. I am extremely grateful for this community. And the way I see it, gratitude and generosity are two sides of the same coin. We express our gratitude through acts of generosity. Like the ripples we see in the bowls of water when we place stones during joys and sorrows, our giving also has a ripple effect that extends and reaches in ways we cannot truly fathom. During this particular time of the year, I want to emphasize my appreciation for the works of the financial team. We give our gifts freely as well as joyfully. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen. As health challenges continue, do take care and advantage of online offerings at FirstU to stay in touch. If you're new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you're right here in Worship Hall this morning and would like more information about FirstU, it is available at the welcome table, which is directly behind the pews. This morning, each of us is welcome. We, of any heritage or faith, of any culture or race, of any gender or orientation, in any body, all that we are. Today, we are all part of this spiritual community.
Each week, we pause in our time together in recognition of both the joy and sorrow in our lives and across the globe. We honor our celebrations and challenges by placing a stone in a bowl of water. As the ripples extend outward, we can imagine that they continue beyond the small bowls, out past the pews, out into the larger community of all. We had no specific requests for stones this morning. However, I have 3 stones here. And a little differently this morning, we're going to have 2 periods of stillness. So the first stone is a stone of sorrow for the escalating tragedy in Gaza and Israel. And a stone of hope for the voices that promote peace and justice, such as the Canadian-headed Global Imams Council, who have condemned Hamas's aggression towards Israel and have asked their members to not participate in rallies. And also a stone of hope for peace, that peace will prevail. So let's take a moment here to just be in silent contemplation, holding the possibility of peace in our hearts. I now invite you to come forward in silence, to put a stone in the bowl of water, stones that are important to you. Please come forward. So we have no caring cards today, but for anyone who might be new to the congregation, we typically on most Sundays have a caring card or two for the congregation to sign at the back, and this could be a caring card pertaining to a joy or a sorrow. And it's important, I think, to, whether you know the person or not, to sign the card, because it's a show of support when an individual receives a card. To see so many signatures. I know I have been recipient of a couple of cards over the years, and it really touched my heart. So now I invite you into a time of stillness and reflection for any joys and sorrows that you may be carrying in your heart. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker for this morning. So FirstU member for about 25 years, Jane Lindsay is active in many areas of the congregation, including the Welcome and Membership Committee, Adult Learning, and the Truth and Reconciliation Action Group. Before retirement, Jane was a personal growth coach and organization change facilitator. Her experience of breaking a femur and wrist late last February while on holiday in Vietnam has led her to her reflections today. And before Jane comes up to share her reflections with us, I'd like to share a reading with you from an essay by John O'Donohue called Structures of Kindness. There is a kindness that dwells deep down in things. It presides everywhere, often in the places we least expect. The world can be harsh and negative, but if we remain generous and patient, kindness inevitably reveals itself. Something deep in the human soul seems to depend on the presence of kindness. Something instinctive in us expects it. And once we sense it, we are able to trust and open ourselves. The word kindness has a gentle sound that seems to echo the presence of compassionate goodness. When someone is kind to you, you feel understood and seen. There is no judgment or harsh perception directed towards you. Kindness has gracious eyes. It is not small-minded or competitive. It wants nothing back for itself. Kindness strikes a resonance with the depths of our own heart. Kindness casts a different light, an evening light, that has the depth of color and patience to illuminate what is complex and rich in difference. Despite all the darkness, human hope is based on the instinct that at the deepest level of reality, some intimate kindness holds sway. Jane?
Thank you, Lisa. I love that reading. You may remember that in our opening words, I read a poem that said, "Make me a candle of comfort in the world." Well, I'm here today to say that I think that acts of kindness are an important way to feed our flame. I'm going to begin my reflections with a bit more information about the accident that Lisa has described. Not a lot, just a bit. Some of you heard too much already, I think. But then I'm going to move on to 4 perspectives that have come to me that I'd like to share with you here today. So yes, last February, my husband and I were in Vietnam, and I was out walking, and there was a trough in the sidewalk I didn't see. Next thing I know, I am on the ground, and I know it is not a good situation. Right away, a young woman came up to me, and not everyone spoke English by a long shot, but fortunately hers is pretty good. And she whispered in my ear, "How can I help?" She helped by going and getting my husband, who wasn't with me. Needless to say, I then got picked up, got taken into a hospital, got taken care of quickly, had 2 surgeries for the badly broken femur, the broken wrist, and was in the hospital for 8 days. While I was there, apart from my wonderful husband, Terry, having to become a caregiver, because they don't feed you in things like that in Vietnamese hospitals. But besides that, I could not get over the kindness of people who would kind of come and go. For example, from the beginning, my first roommate came over and plunked down a small jar of a clear kind of viscous liquid, and without much English said, "Drink, drink." I wasn't quite sure, but it seemed like, well-intended, and so I did. Over the course of time, with 2 other roommates, and particularly their friends, I was given 4 more. Again, always with the urging of good, drink. So I did. And I have to think it helped. There was one particular Vietnamese woman who stands out for me. She was really a visitor in the place, and she came into our room and somehow noticed me, heard the story, and decided that I was there for her to kind of be kind to and look after. She would come in several times every day. She'd give me big, huge smiles, amazing smiles. She'd kind of adjust my covers, and she'd say, "How today? How today?" Because she didn't speak English. One day, she even came in and literally grabbed away an orange that my husband had left me beside the bed, saying, "No good, no good." I was kind of perplexed, but that afternoon she came back with another one, green, by the way, which turned out to be the sweetest orange I've ever had in my life. And the next day she brought one with a leaf on it that I suspect was from her garden. So although it was a little kind of disconcerting at the beginning, it was really clear that it was a kind thing she was doing. Just one more story. I was not in condition to travel easily on a plane, had to keep my legs straight out. And my roommate's husband came up with the idea that we could get a private car and split it into a 2-day trip to get us from where we were on the coast to Ho Chi Minh City, where we would fly out. Not only did that get arranged by the friend of my roommate, but that friend, when the car arrived, had filled it with several comforting pillows because she knew it wasn't going to be a comfortable trip for me. Meanwhile, Terry, my husband, is letting me know about information and good wishes coming in from friends and many of you. I got emails and chat posts with thinking of you wishes. I was told about, and I'd say sensed, healing energy circles some of you held together. And I got individual notices from people saying they were sending me healing energy. I also got suggestions and information for meeting anticipated convalescent needs, which turned out to be really valuable. Back in Ottawa, I got a number of visits, both at home and when I was in convalescence. I got thoughtful, nurturing gifts, things like books, plants, just treats, whole meals. One friend cooked several whole meals and just brought them over. And I know many of you do that, particularly through the Caring Network here. I also got a lot of encouragement and attention as I progressed, and I have, as you could see today. And some of you drove me places, and one friend even came and washed my hair. Now, this was amazing. And all these experiences have led me to be here today, partially because it gives me a way to say thank you to so many of you. But also because I want to share some 4 perspectives I have about kindness. In doing this, I want to make it clear that I do see much kindness here at FirstU. I also recognize that some of us by nature are more comfortable expressing to other people than others. But I also want to say that I truly believe it's important and possible for us all to engage in more acts of kindness more often. So my first perspective is that there are indeed many ways to act kindly, regardless of our life circumstances. Jody actually read us some amazing ones in the child story this morning, so I'm not going to give you a long list, and you've heard me name some that I received. I will say that, we can do caring acts that are pre-planned and that are fairly complex, but we can sometimes do them in groups. And in this congregation, there's been a wonderful history of doing things like that in groups. For example, we have sponsored refugees, we have given refuge, we have organized clothing drives, organized food drives. Those are all acts of kindness, and by participating in it, we're being kind. But as well, there's also a lot of everyday, small, even in the moment, kinds of random acts of kindness that we can do, often as individuals, or some of the planned ones as individuals. So I'm going to be giving most of my attention here today to those kind of individual ones. As I said, I'm not going to name more because I've been doing that here. There's just a couple I'm going to bring forward. One big one, and I think it was in the story, simply smiling at a person and saying hello, and they may be a stranger on the street, or they may be somebody here, can be a hugely kind thing to do. And a particular kind of a timely one I want to name, which is kind of coincidental to this my talk today, but nonetheless. You might decide that you want to be the Caring Network coordinator for FirstU. It happens that our caring network needs a new coordinator, and that job entails only about 4 hours of work a month. Not bad. And if this appeals to you as a way to offer kindness to many, in fact, please see the website or see our EUU, our electronic newsletter, or talk to our wonderful caring contact at the caring table at the back. I could go on about kinds and what are acts of kindness, but I think you're getting the idea. But there's one in particular I want to draw to our attention. This is listening. Listening not to respond or score a point, but to understand. Especially doing this with someone who might be grieving or troubled, lonely, or struggling somehow is really meaningful. I happen to be taking now some pastoral care training, quite frankly, a result of everything that's happened to me. And it's really brought this home to me. But another thing has come to me that some of us might not think about. It might not be easy, but I realize is hugely, hugely significant. And that is, we can truly listen to someone who sees things differently than we do. This type of kindness was really brought into my awareness this week from hearing two men here on Wednesday night talk. One of them was a Palestinian and one of them was a Jew. They had some years back intentionally reached out to one another saying, help me understand how you see things. And they have done, it seems, an amazing job of that. They've now co-authored a book, and they are committed to engaging others, 2 people at a time, in understanding one another. When asked what was essential in this, one of the men said what I've named here to you. And in fact, that's where I got the particular phrasing. Listen, not to respond or score a point, but to understand. My second perspective about kindness is that even simple, brief acts of kindness have a real impact on well-being. I, for one, am convinced that the progress I've made to get to walking at this stage, and by the way, it's about 7 months, and I was told it might be 6 months before I had any weight down, even with 2 crutches. So I feel like things are going pretty well. I'm convinced that the progress I made is in no small part to the many acts of kindness that I experienced. Specifically, I feel this results from 2 things. One is the positive feelings of being valued and cared for that arose in me as a result of the many acts of kindness. I also believe that the healing energies transmitted to me from others, both intentionally and otherwise, made a big difference for me. Now, in fact, scientific research has shown that whether we like it or not, we are all energetically connected. Each person's thoughts, attitudes, and emotions emit energies through our heart's magnetic field. As we communicate and act with compassionate care and kindness, this energetically warms our heart connection in our interactions and increases the heart energy or love flowing through ourselves and that others sense and pick up. So we don't even have to try to do it. It's happening. But it happens only when we are in that kind of state. And guess what? When we do a kind act, it may help our own heart and our own stress even more than that of the receiver. Our heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to our heart. It has been proven that unlike when we are in a negative emotional state or stressed, that when we are in a positive emotional state, such as feeling compassion for an act of kindness, the rhythm and pattern of our heart is more ordered and stable. And in that mode, what it does, it sends signals to our brain which actually facilitate our emotional stability and cognitive functions like attention, perception, memory, and problem solving. I don't know about you, but I think these are pretty important. My third perception is that we underestimate how much acts of kindness are appreciated. In findings published in 2022 in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, Researchers found that people who perform a random act of kindness tend to underestimate how much the recipient will appreciate it. And they believe this miscalculation can hold many of us back from doing nice things for others more often. I think they're right. And I don't think this just applies to random acts of kindness. Unfortunately, as one clinical psychologist just said, kindness can be a really hard sell. People often desire kindness, yet often feel inconvenienced by the thought of having to pull it off. But remember, keep it simple. And stress and busyness can keep us from being kind to others. But please, when the impulse to be kind arises, don't overthink it. Do it. My fourth, and believe me, that was a real lesson to me. And my fourth perception, or perspective, I guess, is that doing acts of kindness, and this should be a no-brainer to us as you use, but doing acts of kindness is an essential part of living, not just espousing our principles, particularly our second one of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Why? Because kindness is putting compassion, self and inward feeling, into action. If there ever were a time in the world, including in the Ottawa community, where kindness is needed, it's now. As you know probably all too well, we have resurgent acts of hatred, oppression, harassment, violence against individuals and groups, particularly ones marginalized. It's hard to face this, but it happens in its serendipitous timing as well to my being here today. At next week's fall congregational meeting, we're going to be asked to support a new proposed social justice focus. That focus is cultivating compassionate community. Over the next few years, if we support this, there will be lots of activities to help us do that beyond our walls, but also inside the walls. So I hope that you will both support cultivating compassionate community as our next social justice focus, but I also hope that you will commit to participating actively in it. There's lots of ways to do that, and I've been naming some here, but I'm going to end my reflections on kindness by asking us all to keep at the forefront of our minds 2 specific acts that we might not have thought of as kindness, but which I think are. First, help people outside of our walls know that FirstU exists as a welcoming and respectful community, one where they might feel safe and valued. This could be huge for somebody, especially in today's times, but they're not going to get that if they don't even know we exist. Second, and we can do that in different ways. We can do it certainly by telling people about us. We can do it by participating in external events so that they see our presence there, but those are helping them know we're here. There's another one which is pretty darn simple, but I ask you to remember because it's really easy to say, oh, I can't be bothered, or to overlook it. And that is, we each have an opportunity to show kindness at virtually every live service or event here, and even some online ones. And that is by speaking to a newcomer or someone we don't know, even if doing so feels a bit awkward or uncomfortable. Sometimes all it takes is smiling and saying hello. If applicable, maybe say, I don't think we've met. That's a great way to get things started. Or chat about the event we're attending together. Perhaps you might ask if they'd like to sit with you, and I know many people have done that, or go into coffee hour. And please, if you see somebody with a green mug at coffee hour, do go up and say hi, and perhaps ask them if there's anything particular they'd like to talk about. You may wonder if bothering to do these things are worth it. I say yes. And I quote you a really short poem by Sean Thomas Doherty. It's called Why Bother? Because right now, there is someone out there with a wound in the exact shape of your words. Thank you for holding space here with me today to reflect on kindness. It matters. As Maya Angelou said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So may our acts of kindness make everyone feel like a somebody. And while doing so, light our flame as a candle of comfort in the world. And now I'm going to invite you to listen to a recording of a song called Random Acts of Senseless Kindness. And it's written and recorded by a group called South 65. Please listen, and then take a quiet moment afterwards to reflect on the words that you hear. Thank you.
Well, I think I'm going to be adding that one to my playlist. Thank you so much, Jane, for choosing that beautiful song and for your reflections. Food for thought. So So I now invite the greeters to come forward with the offering baskets. And I guess also give a chance for the choir to come on up and get settled. So this congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are part of this community. To make a gift in support of the work of this congregation, you don't need to use the baskets that are now passing among the pews. Wherever you are invited to go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how you can make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are given freely and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another.
The song Three Rivers is going to sing for you today is We Shall Be Known. Some of you may know this piece already. It inspires us to appreciate the good company we keep and to go into the well. You'll hear references to the well in the song. And the composer says she sees this as your place of connection and compassion and creativity and ability to thrive. She says of this song, I woke from a dream where two dear old friends were beckoning me to come. I followed them, and their smiles and warm hearts asking me to come forward. And I awoke from the dream with the first part of the song singing through me, We shall be known by the company we keep.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. In
Thank you, Three Rivers. I always love hearing you. And thank you, Jen, not only for leading this so beautifully, but for finding it so perfectly for this service. Before we close worship and our time, I'd like to remind you that coffee hour begins right after service here today in Fellowship Hall. If you're new here, or still somehow feel new, or just kind of want some conversation today, please pick up a green mug as you enter Fellowship Hall. Doing so will help others look forward to having a good conversation with you. Also want to remind you that leafy greens are available for you to get and take home, courtesy of our good folks of Ajashki, and that they are available in the little volunteer room through that door to the side of Fellowship Hall. And now, as I prepare to extinguish our chalice, I have just a few short words that may they stay with us. And they are a poem from Kindness Lives Here by Tripetta Mason. And it's not all of the poem, it's just a section of it. Kindness lives here when we call out to a stranger or flash a smile or give a nod to lift haggard spirits. When we step aside and let another take the shine. When we let bygones go and cross the dividing line, to listen, to stand with, to stand up, to say, I don't agree, and yet I honor your humanity. We know kindness lives here, lives within us. We dab tear-streaked faces, we make bread, cover dishes, lend $1, give a ride, stand in when someone couldn't, just do it when others wouldn't. Kindness seeks no return, no fanfare, no grand gestures. In its elegant silence, it moves the needle, it makes a mark. It's a small axe chipping away. It's our solve. And so our chalice is now extinguished. May the spark of our connection and faith remain. As we've been doing for years, we will now stand, and I invite you to do that if you're able, and sing in both English and French, Spirit of Life.
Please be seated. And our benediction for today, if you wish to extend your hands out and imagine that your loving energy is flowing from you and out towards your neighbors and beyond, and let us live this day compassionate of heart, clear in word, gracious in awareness, courageous in thought, generous in love, and may we all go in peace. Until we meet again next Sunday, go in peace.
For those joining after the service, at 11:45, the walk around the pylons will start. Terry will be at the front door to lead people around. The town hall starts at 12:15. Online, the link is in the EUU or on our website, and you can be here in person. Please grab some food beforehand. Thank you.